Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back. And what are we getting back into? We are getting into Love is Blind Habibi, and we are now on episode 2, and it is called It's Complicated. So basically, you know where we left off in the previous episode with Amar and Karma in the pods basically, and she just told Amar that, you know what, she's gotten cold feet, although he came to declare his love for her, and basically he did make up his mind and asked for her hand in marriage. And I was like, well, damn, he got the cold feet response. So let's see where this is going to end up, because as I already said, I believe that Amar is a red flag walking, but we'll see if Karma heeds the warning signs. So just before we get fully into this episode, as I always ask, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so you know I'm on doing videos. Please comment, like, share and do the good things that you do, because you all know I am on the road to 1k, and it is with your help that I'm getting there. I'll also want to spread a lovely warm welcome and thank you to all of the new subscribers that have come through and decided to join what I call my renegade army. I appreciate you all very, very much, and I like the fact that, you know what, you like what I'm talking about. So anyway, as we go back to this episode, Amar absolutely does not accept what Karma has said to him basically. So he basically says to her, I don't want you to think about what will happen or overthink. And I was kind of like, mate, basically you warned guys away from her, told her you were the jealous type, and you would throw something at a wall if she dared talk about or went on other dates with other men. So now he wants to say that Karma is overthinking things or shouldn't overthink things. I think she should. I think she should go with what her gut is telling her. So he basically wants her to forget all of that and wants to know if Karma is happy and relaxed and having a good time with him. I'm like, this man, Amar did not listen to a word that Karma was saying when she turned around and said that basically she was having cold feet and wasn't sure whether she should continue to date other people to see if the connection that she has with Amar is strong enough. I honestly believe that she did get a little bit, you know, not so safe with him when he was talking and stuff, but he's a very forthright man. So I have to say, Karma did shock me. She did shock me when she went back and she says, I cannot believe what's happening. I'm starting to love you without seeing you. I was like, okay, this girl is not going to heed her own warning signs at all, but hopefully things will work out between her and Amar, but we'll see, because with his first and foremost attitudes and his attitudes into this, when she was speaking to him about her fears and concerns, he didn't seem to take those on board. He was just wanting it to move how he wanted it to move. So Karma then proceeds to validate him fully within this conversation. And I'm like, so okay, her feet have now literally just like, you know, thawed out. They're no longer iced. Do you know what I mean? So Amar wants them to be together but wants her answer. So this is where Karma goes quiet, and I thought, okay, is she having second thoughts? But no, she answered with quickness and said yeah. So they call themselves the Amar and Cookie. So we have Amar and Karma as our first couple within these pods. So Safa basically knows that she has to choose between Mohammed and Karim. She says that she has to choose between them today. So she has a date with Mohammed first, and I would say it seems to be light with them two and full of laughter, and he's very quite respectful. So Mohammed says that he's happy and has thought about Safa a lot. He does share with Safa as to who he wants, and to be fair, he's not giving me any red flags at the moment. That's what I'll say. He's not giving me no red flags at the moment. Safa does begin to cry in terms of, like, you know, the words that he is telling her, because Mohammed's able to, like, you know, express himself fully, whereas Karim doesn't. So she basically does say to Mohammed that she's fallen for him, and so she's made a choice. I do think Mohammed and Safa will be more suited to each other than her and Karim, to be honest with you. So Mohammed just basically asked her to just be his. That's all he wants. It took Mohammed a while to ask this girl in the pods whether to marry her, you know. I will say that the words of the men and the women are sometimes in the same vein as it does follow with the other Love is Blind. It does get very emotional and sometimes flowery with some of the men. But as again, we'll see what happens when the next move out of the pods and if they keep that same countenance going, but show it in their actions. So, as I said, there was no asking of marriage yet at that point for Safa and Mohammed, but they did declare their love for each other. I just hope that Mohammed is not disappointed. So Mohammed, in his VC, describes Safa that she's organised, she's responsible and she's mature. He respects her style and that she's funny. And I'm like, this is some of the countless things that he's saying that he likes about Safa. This is talking about the girl of his dreams right about now. And to me, it kind of sounded like he was describing a friend more than a fiance. But then I kind of have to think about, you know what? They're trying to understand who it is that they're about to meet, because don't forget, they don't see these people whatsoever. So he can't really say anything more than what he's heard and talking to her in the pods. So he does go into the men's lounge and say that, you know, Safa is his fiance now. But Mohammed has not asked her yet. So there's still Karim who is taken with her too. So Mohammed told the room, and I think it was more so a warning to Karim, that, you know what, he wants Safa. I would say that these guys are not afraid to, like, you know, let them know who it is that they want, who they form that connection with, in order to share a warning to the other guys in there. But that shouldn't be how the program is set out at the end of the day. It's given that when you go in there, you will be dating multiple people. Yes, you may feel things to that one person, but at the end of the day, she's seeing more than one person as well, just like himself may be seeing more than one person as well. Then I don't think it's fair to them go in and then warn everybody else off that girl, because I don't think it's fair at all, because it's kind of like they're fighting over bones or something, and not a prospective fiance who is in a person. So Karim is not liking what Mohammed has said. Karim believes that Safa is a great person and he wants Safa behind him, basically. So Safa goes on her date with Karim. She basically says that Mohammed makes her feel safe and that Karim kind of makes her feel a little bit scared, and it takes him a while to show his emotions. So at that point, I'm kind of like, okay, Safa, you already know who you're going to pick at the end of the day. You're just basically going in there to Karim to basically see if he has anything to say or if he has any fight or passion in him, which is what she was waiting to see. So with them, their date is very low key. And I mean, there were instances of complete silence and so much awkwardness. It was untrue, because I was kind of like, right, Karim's already had, like, you know, a verbal type of nondescript warning from Mohammed when he walked in and said that, you know, Safa is his and he will be going out of this place with Safa. So it didn't compute to when he went in. So Karim is kind of in that room silent majority of the time. He wasn't putting himself in any part of a playing position with Safa. Even their jokes with each other was off. So Karim asked her how she felt mentally. And she turned around and she goes, well, I feel like we're connected. She doesn't think there are any issues in their age or mental connection. And I thought, I think there is, to be fair. And there's massive gaps within their communication as to what I've observed within the pods between them. Safa basically turned around and said that she wasn't sure about their emotional connection, which was true. You can basically see that they don't have that connection at all, and you can see that. Karim didn't really want to hear that, but after hearing what Mohammed had to say, I think he was already ready to let Safa go to him at the end of the day. Even in his last speech to Safa, he was awkward and not really able to speak from his heart. So at the end of the day, he basically wished her all the happiness in the world and basically said that there are no winners or losers. So that had been it. It was settled. Safa had chosen Karim, and it made it easier for her to then choose Mohammed. So it does say it all when Karim goes back in and hugs Mohammed, basically to say, do you know what, that's it, I'm done, I've ended it, sort of thing. So we meet Khatab on the next day. So he basically says, in having been rejected from the industry that he works in, it has made him consider his own relationships when it comes to marriage and love. I was kind of thinking, well, what does that mean, and how do you make that correlation between the relationships that you make work within your workplace to personal relationships, as in looking for love and marriage, because they're completely different. They differ from each other. So he does say that he's a bit of a workaholic and his nightlife job is affecting his prospects, basically. So Khatab and Asma meet. Asma is energetic, like she is energetic and always in this green full-on suit, and she makes her presence known. So she asks Khatab what he's looking for. He said he's looking for a lady that is compatible with him. I'm kind of not sure what Asma heard, but she kind of got offended and said to him, what, quite harshly. So Khatab says, what I mean is someone who fits with his personality. I would also ask again, what does that mean? Because if your personality is a bag of shit, how is a woman meant to complement that at the end of the day? And I believe that what the answer that Khatab gave was kind of one-dimensional too. I think he needed to expand on that a little bit more. So he continued with, his wife should be ready, that when they are together, they can build a life together. Right now, I don't think at that point Khatab wasn't wooing Asma in the slightest. She was listening to what he was saying very, very carefully. So basically, he was continued to say that he wanted a partner to be understanding. And Asma was right to ask, well, what do you mean by that? And this is why I like the women in this one, because they do ask the right questions and they're quite forthright. They're not necessarily swept away by flowery words. Asma is on point as to know what she wants from Khatab and what he means when he speaks. So basically, Khatab was saying that any woman that he's with or the wife that he decides to pick, she needs to understand his life before making any decision. For me, Khatab is coming off like he's in a job interview. He hasn't really asked any questions of Asma at this point, and it's kind of giving he's really bothered by what she wants, but will we see what it is that he can give her? So this is one of my pet peeves, when a person answers a question with a question. So Khatab does eventually ask Asma a question as to asking her, why are you not married yet? So she turns around and says, well, I will ask you the same thing. Khatab didn't let her get away with that at all and turned around and says, well, I already know my answer to that, but I want to hear what you have got to say, basically. So Asma does explain that she works a lot. She works a 9 to 5. She's made her own startup company and then works in that after she's finished her 9 to 5, and that she works out a lot. Basically, she's quite athletic and quite active. I'm just like, how in the hell then have you managed, even with Khatab as well, when he explains what he does to Asma, how in the hell have they managed to allot space and time to literally come on a show like this, which is going to take up at least a majority or a portion of their time, to actually find someone that they really need to be with? And I mean, for them to do that, they must really be wanting to take this shit absolutely seriously. I'm sensing that if her and Khatab did get married, that their work ethic will be completely high, which has caused them both not to look for long-term relationships. So I'm just wondering how that would work in an actual relationship with them. So Asma said that she's had opportunities to get married, but she's picky. So Khatab basically said, well, copy and paste that, because that's exactly what I'm like. Asma appeared happy with Khatab. She was happy with that. So Karim is now on the prowl for Asma, because he'd already had dates with Safa. He liked Safa and he liked Asma as well. So I'm just like, okay, if he's on the prowl for Asma now to try and make a connection with her, he basically really needs to let himself go. He needs to open up with this girl, because at the end of the day, Asma is feeling Khatab quite well. So Asma wants to understand Karim's current status. He tends to be more open with her than he was with Safa. So Asma explained that we had this connection from the get-go, but she wanted to understand what happened, because it seemed to have disappeared along the way. So this is where I was saying that Karim needs to come into his own, because if he don't, he will lose another woman. He will lose it again, basically. So he talked about being portrayed a lot of times by the people he loved, and he's basically not gotten over that, and he got rather emotional when he was speaking about it. He basically shared that he's no longer the same person that he was, and you can see that because he shuts himself down when it gets emotional. But I appreciate the fact that Karim actually opened up to Asma quite a lot. I was surprised by it. Asma does tell him that he's not a numb person, and if he is, it's probably a reaction to the trauma that he went through. He basically said that he doesn't know what he's afraid of, and he has had emotional connections but believes that Asma understands him, and that he had not opened up but he is actively trying. I don't know if Karim is doing himself a huge disservice, and I know in some cultures, mine including how you grow up, people will often say to you that therapy is seen as a sign of weakness, basically. And I think Karim coming on this show is because I think he should have dealt with the traumas that he holds on to right about now, rather than trying to get a wife where he would not have been able to fulfill her needs in any way, shape or form, and probably more than likely would have ended up hurting somebody else, or the trust issues falling apart with somebody else, which then would have batted around another cycle in terms of somebody hurting someone else. And that's the sort of thing that it seems as though he fell into previously, and I think he needs the help and support in to be able to let certain things go and to be able to learn how to trust and open up again, especially when it comes to a partner. He did wish to see Asma again, but for me it kind of felt like it was going to be a goodbye between the both of them. I just don't think Karim is there at this moment in time. He really isn't. So when it came back into the rooms, the girls were talking, and basically with this one, I didn't realise that they actually only have like 40 minutes in the pod. So this one kind of has a timer on it on how much time you spend with each of the people. So the girls are all having a little chinwag about whether the hearts are beating fast for anybody yet, and Asma says that, you know what, her heart is not beating fast yet, in response to Noor's question. So you see Amar and Karma meet. So they do like each other. You can see that they do like each other. And I thought the way that Karma was breathing so hard as she come out the door, I thought the girl was going to pass out. I was like, are medics on standby? Because this girl looks like she's about to pass out because her breathing was so hella hard. So it is noted that they cannot kiss in this. They don't kiss at all. They can hug. You see the men kiss them on the forehead, but anything more than that is not negotiable. They don't do it, which is understandable, to be honest with you. You could tell that Amar and Karma actually did want to kiss each other, but they didn't cross that line, because I think they might have got into trouble if they did. So Amar ended up forgetting the damn ring on the other side, so he had to run back and go get it. He provides her with the ring and kisses her on the top of the head. He does say to her, kiss me, and she does. She kisses him on the cheek. So after that, it's now they get to meet the parents, but we ain't got to that stage yet. So we get to the next day, and Safa goes to meet Mohammed, and she believes Mohammed is the right man for her, basically. So Safa tells him about her father's name, who has passed, and it's also Mohammed too. So Mohammed asks, who is the young Safa? Which is a good question, to be fair. He wants to know who she was before she became an adult. So basically she explained to him that she was born in Kuwait, and then they moved back to Iran when she was quite young, and she doesn't remember much of her young life because apparently they moved around quite a lot. Even though Mohammed says it's bizarre that, you know, she doesn't remember much of a young life, it's not necessarily bizarre, because sometimes, depending on how many times you've moved, some people don't tend to carry those memories with them, especially if there's some kind of trauma around that. So it isn't that bizarre, to be fair. So Safa basically said that she moved around quite a lot. She'd been to Russia, she's been to Uzbekistan, and basically Mohammed was saying that he really wants Safa, he wants to protect her and take care of her, and basically he's saying Safa is a good woman. So I hope he means it, because she does seem like good people at the end of the day. So that was it for that date. no proposal, beautiful date, but no proposal. And I'm like, my guy, if you want this woman so bad, why are you not asking for her hand in marriage already? Why are you not asking, getting down on bended knee and asking this woman to marry you? Because at the end of the day, she's cut people off. She's made it sure that you're the one that she wants. And I don't think I saw Muhammad going to date anybody else except for Safa. So I don't understand why he waited that much. So Asma's basically talking about how she likes Karim, Mido and Khatab, and she basically wanted to decide in this day about who it is that she wants. So with Mido, he says he feels Asma can be his life partner. He wants to be with someone he is living with and won't get bored of. I don't think Mido actually realizes that, you know what, you have to work at keeping that marriage stoked and fired at the end of the day so boredom doesn't set in. It ain't just down to the woman. Do you know what I mean? Mido has to, you know, meet somewhere in the middle to ensure that boredom doesn't set in for both of them at the end of the day. So Asma appears shocked that Mido can actually see himself with her and spending the rest of his life with Asma. I don't know why, but I don't know what other answer he would say to that, to be honest with you. So she wishes him happy many returns for his birthday tomorrow, because he does mention it. And he basically turned around and said, I'm with you by my side. And she starts giggling and said, yes. Me here, if I was Asma, I'd be very, very careful on the grounds that you're treading on at the end of the day. Because to say things like this, I think these men literally do take it to heart. All I would say is look at the position that Karma placed herself in with Amar at the end of the day, with her flirty self. And he literally took that to heart, because his first thought was, I want this girl and I don't want nobody else to have her. This is how these men are coming off. So I think she needs to be very careful, because at the end of the day, as she says, she's got 3 people to choose from. She wants to make that decision today, but she needs to be careful in terms of not necessarily leading people down a merry path at the end of the day. So Asma is talking about that she's Egyptian and Mido is Egyptian as well. So that's why I like this as well, because it's nice watching like all the other melting pots of cultures that are showcased and talked about, and each one of them are all different. So Mido asked Asma if she loved him. I think he was being serious, even though he was laughing. He wanted to hear that from her. So she said it back as a joke, but then leaves the pod saying, I don't know, as she's shutting the door. And I said, this is what I mean. At the end of the day, these men seem to be falling in love at the speed of light with these women. So the women need to be careful, as I said, essentially leading them down a path that they themselves are not sure that they want to take at all. So Asma says to one of the girls that she isn't comparing, but she's had deep conversations with all of the men, which makes it harder for her to choose. But my point is, I think you will always know if one person piques you more than the rest. You tend to search that person out more, and I think that would have come along with Asma. So Karim is searching to have another date with Asma to see if basically she shares the same feelings towards him that he shares. And I think in terms of how I've seen her with Karim, Mido and Khatab, I would have said at first that Karim was a better fit, because she can bring him out of his shell, but it's how far she can bring him out of his shell. But Karim has a lot of work to do on himself emotionally and internally. So as Asma lets Karim know that she wants to decide who she wishes to have, as she feels that the others are progressing more than her with Karim. And this is where I said, if Karim wants Asma without being too over the top, he has to reach that deep place, which I know will be hard for him, looking at and listening to what's been going on. But I think once he does it, he will mean it wholly. So he says that it was she who he wanted, and he entered into this to find out who he is and who he is attracted to. But I would say it's more than that, because you're looking for someone who's actually compatible to be your wife and you their husband at the end of the day. This show is for hopefully keeps, if it works out right. So you can see that Asma is listening to him intently, and basically Asma turns around to him and says that you're not giving me anything right now, and all it does is make her feel safe. So my thing is, if you feel safe with this man, isn't that a start? I mean, it would be a shame to see Karim missing out. And then it's literally like straight after I had that thought, it was a stab in the heart, as Asma says to him, maybe it's not meant to be between us. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest, so quickly, but as I say, Karim is not helping himself. He doesn't even fight for her either. I definitely think this is a man who's needs to have some type of therapy and to dig deep in that therapy too. I don't think he should have come on this show at all, because he was not ready to be able to let himself be displayed and show what he is that he's about, in order to for a woman to literally continue with him, even though he did get two women that actually were interested in him. So Karim is leaving. So Karim tells the men as he goes back into the room that Asma is looking for stability and emotion, and he can't provide that to her. And I was just thinking, well, that's kind of like the bare minimum, do you know what I mean, of what most women want. So I believe Karim will be by himself for futures to come if he doesn't change his outlook, to be honest with you. So you have Khatab and Mido, who would be happy hearing that one person is out of the running for Asma's affections. But I was kind of thinking, well, what happens next and who she will choose. So Khatab feels that Mido has a better connection with Asma. This is his assumption, basically, all based on the fact that, you know what, he's Egyptian as well. So Asma basically tells the girls that when she goes back in after the date with Karim, that he's a lost man, basically, and she was happy that this thing ended with him, as it was bad. I said, at the end of the day, no one wants to go into a relationship, let alone a marriage, with a man that cannot show love or even affections towards a person, because it's going to make for a lonely existence. Going to be divorced before the ink is dry on the paper, to be honest with you. So they tell her to write down the pros and cons of the men she has left. Sometimes I think that shit don't work. Like, seriously, don't work. It just adds more confusion to everything else, basically. So Shafiq and Khatab talk. Just as about Khatab is about to meet with Asma, he believes that it's over for him already. And my thing is, if you go in with a defeatist attitude already, you'll lose everything that you're wanting and hoping for. So this is what I found with these men, easily like to take a back seat, some of them do, to those that believe that they are in the winning seat, basically, even if no one has given Khatab the impression. As Shafiq says, Asma is not married. She didn't promise Mido anything. She didn't promise Karim anything at the end of the day. So I would say that some of these guys do come off as a little insecure. So Khatab goes in and sees Asma. So basically, as she's walking in and she's sitting down getting comfortable, she's talking about how this situation is quite intense, and Khatab says it's exhausting. And I was just like, well, yeah, that's what you both signed up for at the end of the day. Well, that's what all the contestants sign up for when they go on shows like this. So I'm not sure within that date that I like Khatab's attitude towards Asma, the way he was talking to her. It was a bit abrupt. And so he asks her, what attributes do you like in a man? And before she says anything, he quickly turns around and interrupts and says, be honest with me. And I'm like, my guy, you've been getting to know Asma. You will see that this woman is an actual direct person, and she will ask what she needs to ask and mean what she means to say at the end of the day. But yeah, the way he was speaking to her was a little bit off, almost combative, like she kind of done something wrong when she hadn't. So Asma basically tells him that she likes a man to take care of himself, to do athletics, and to do activities and be athletic. And I thought, okay, that might kind of rule out Khatab, as he's a bigger man. I mean, that doesn't mean he doesn't go to a gym, so I'm not prejudging, but I think Asma will, if she chooses him and then she sees him, basically. So you can see Khatab get more and more uncomfortable as Asma is speaking. As she ends with, like, because she's so extremely athletic, and again he cuts her off like she hasn't spoken and says yeah, but then he turns around and goes on the defensive and says that he's extremely active but has had a problem in the past 2 years. So all he says what happened in the past 2 years is, I don't like it. I thought, oh, is that it? You're not going to say anything more? I know they can't really tell people what they look like. He tells her that, you know, he likes to be fit, but he definitely isn't right now. Let's just put it that way. So he then says he wants to change his life completely, and he's so sure about that. Asma laughs. I'm like, he didn't even say why he said what he said. That he is on the bit on the heavier side, and I ain't knocking no one for being big, because I'm a thick gal myself. Do you know what I'm saying? All I'm saying is he needs to try and relay this to Asma, because I don't believe, judging by what she said, she may like the look of him, to be honest with you, if she does pick him. As I think there might be a little bit of shallowness about her, because her view is she's quite athletic. She's imagining her man must be athletic too, and quite tall and quite, like, you know, toned. So Khatab basically says that he's ready to fight for Asma and claim her. I'm like, yeah, that just sounds like you want to claim her like a damn pet at the end of the day. I mean, I don't know about yous, but the way in which a man chats when he turns around and he says he wants to claim a woman does not send thrills down my back or chills in my spine. Let's just put it that way. So he's basically said his main priority would be his wife, and he basically said when he came on to the show starting off, he had shut down his heart hard, and he was working with a black heart and thinking of work only. When he was saying that, Asma's eyes went wide, and I was thinking, she's probably thinking, oh bloody hell, not another Kareem in front of me right now. Again, he goes through his accolades and what he does and how many fingers in each pies that he's got, and especially businesses within the family that he's involved in, and it's kind of like a job interview. So Asma rightfully says, well, why didn't you say all of this before? So basically he didn't say nothing about his actual financial standing, because he was seeking for a woman to know him for his personality before he basically told her about this bit. But he'd got serious with Asma, and that's kind of why he told her. But my old brain was kind of thinking, he's saying this to impress Asma now, because what he's hoping is that she is materialistic enough to show her that Mido cannot cater to her like he can financially. Even though Asma turns around and says, well, I'm not that type of girl, I kind of think she is. I kind of think she is, because her behaviour says it the next way. Because basically Asma turns around and says to him that, you know, you are my number one. And he basically turned around and says, well, you're my number one, and if she chooses him, Hab will be happy. Asma basically turns around and says, I want to build on your story that you've just said, and this is in regards to his financial standing and all the many fingers he has in each pies around the place. Yeah. So everything he said basically apparently made huge sense to her and built in a bigger picture of her by Khatab. And I'm in confused city, because I'm like, how? She then says she wants to move forward with Khatab and wants to give it a shot with an open mind and an open heart. All I can say is at that point, money talked, and Khatab's plan won out, to be honest with you. Because I'm hella confused by the change about that she gave. As soon as Khatab talks about his financial standing, everything just all changed, you know, because Asma was no longer confused about who it was that she wanted. So I was like, okay, that's all I can say in that. She chose Khatab, and that's all I can say in that. So Asma says, with what she got from Khatab, provided her with the logical side. It was about what he had, because she played it off as though it was her logical side that was speaking. It was about money, and Khatab played his cards right. And she said, yes, logically it will work with him. They didn't say they loved each other. Let's just put it that way. They didn't say they loved each other, or there was this built-in emotion between the both of them. Yeah, they both wanted to be with each other, but I think Asma, aka Asuma, only made up her mind when Khatab told her about his financial standing. So then Khatab goes in and tells the men that he and Asma locked it in. Mido was not happy with that prospect at all. Mido was so bothered by this, because basically he had not had a chance to go and talk to Asma before Khatab could go in and speak to her. I just thought it was a bit of a coincidence that Khatab wouldn't tell the lads how he did it. And I thought it's called financial influence, my people. He has to seal the deal. And even though Asma said that she's not that kind of girl in terms of the materialistic side of it, she kind of proved that she was. So Asma should have given Mido his chance to talk to her before accepting the... Well, she didn't even accept the proposal for Hatab, to be honest with you. He didn't propose to her at that point. He just gave her the full view of his financial standing, and then she said she wanted a chance with him. So, hi ho. So I kind of understand why Mido might be pissed, but I don't like how he carried on his business with her when he did go and speak to her. And this is why I say these women have to watch themselves in this Love is Blind, as the men kind of place themselves on some type of hierarchy, and I don't think they are used to vying for women's affections in the way that it's set out. It smacks of handing all the power to the women, and the men are floundering at this loss of control, because they can't control who a woman chooses at any point of time. And this kind of, as it is shown, comes out in Mido's attitude towards Asma, because he was downright rude and ignorant to her when he walked into the room. Basically, she says to Mido, like, if you want me to leave, I will leave, but all I wanted to do was at least give you the reasons as to why I made the decision that I did. At the end of the day, it sucks for Mido, but Asma had to make a choice. Even though he didn't get a chance to speak to her before she made that choice, it's just how the luck of the draw goes at the end of the day. So Mido then ends up walking out. But this is what happens when someone's ego is hurt at the end of the day. And to be fair, what more could he do? He owed her a little bit of respect to listen to what it was that she had to say, but he chose not to. So then we see Safa and Mohammed meet in the pod. And at last, we have a proposal, people. So let's put it this way, Mohammed has a way with words. So Safa said yes. All I want to say is I love how these people celebrate. I love it. I love how these people celebrate for real once they find out they're engaged to the other person, especially when the girls go back in and they do their little chants, they do the tongue yelling and rolling and stuff. Oh, it's brilliant. So it's Hatab's turn to ask Asma to marry him. I do notice that, that some of them actually speak English very well, so they don't actually sometimes hear the dub over because they're actually speaking English. So I really don't think Asma's going to like the look of Hatab when she sees him. After what she said, I really don't see it. She does say yes to his proposal, by the way, but Hatab says he doesn't want to disrespect her dad by asking for her hand in marriage in the pods, but wishes to ask her dad officially, which is respectful basically, because none of the other men have thought about that at all, to be honest with you. So Hatab goes back in and tells the men he has a wife, and Asma goes and tells the girls that she's engaged. So you see Simo, because I actually forgot all about Simo, and I actually forgot all about Shafiq as well. So you see Simo, he's having a date with Yasmina, and he got her flowers because it's her birthday, and basically he said that he holds her dear. I just thought, don't mess with Yasmin's emotions, Simo, because basically she's a lovely woman. She's absolutely lovely inside and out. So he's basically wants to see what Hajar says, because he is developing feelings for Yasmin, but Hajar, he says, is not giving the signs that he's hoping for. So Hajar, when she's in the room, she shows her mean streak, that she is above. This is in front of Yasmin, because Yasmin's sitting in front of her with her flowers, and she's basically saying that she's above, proving to a guy in the pods that she is better than any other girl, and Yasmin is sitting right in front of her. And then Hajar has the nerve to say that would make her really cheap. I mean, no one's actually telling Hajar that she has to be in competition with anyone, to be honest with you. If she wants to show it, show it. If she don't, she don't. So Simo and Hajar have a meet up. Get the audacity of Hajar. She takes in a rose, because she's already sent it to his side. So she's given Simo a flower with her perfume on it. She has the audacity to tell Simo that she stole this rose from another girl and sprayed perfume on it. She didn't realise that she actually took that rose from the bouquet that Simo gave to Yasmin. And so she thought that, you know what, you just contradicted yourself, Ja, because now she's looking this desperate, playing exactly the same game that she said she would not play with a man. So Sima asked her, where did you get this flower from? At this point, when Hajar answers him from the mysterious guy of Yasmin's, she didn't realize that Simo is that guy, because they were Yasmin's flower for her birthday. Hajar has no respect at all. So Hajar put her foot in it by saying she doesn't know who the guy is that Yasmin is seeing, because Yasmin is in fact quite quiet on those topics, which she should be, and not boastful on who she's dating like everybody else when they walk into that room. So Simo, I had to rate him. He turned around and said, that guy is me. Hajar's face, she looked like she was catching fish food, how much her mouth was opening and shutting. She didn't know where to put herself because she felt hella stupid in that point. So basically, I just thought to myself, I don't know how Simo can take what she's done and the actions that she's took and believe that's something that's something that he wants in a wife, because Hajar has come off quite spiteful and mean, to be honest with you. So Simo asked Hajar, what does it mean? And she basically said that she was just mentioning it, because I was thinking, I don't know what he's getting at. So Simo basically said, if this flower is back, it has a meaning, yes. And I thought, yes, that Hajar is not a really nice woman and a bit of a mean girl. And that's what it means. She decided to steal a flower from somebody else that he gave a birthday present to impress him, and that saves it all. But no, Hajar starts laughing. She don't really have the emotional maturity. And I do think Simo began to play with her a little bit. That's my understanding anyway when I was watching it. And he said, my flower with your perfume means we are one. But if the said flower came from another woman, what does that mean? What does that honestly mean? So Hajar confirms to Simo that he is her number one. And in this moment, Hajar is doing the one thing again that she said she wouldn't do, is fight for a man. It hasn't escaped my notice either that Simo's arrogance comes more to the forefront with Hajar than it does with Yasmin, to be honest with you. I fingers crossed, I really don't think Simo will pick Hajar, but you know what, he isn't, because he to me, he doesn't seem as fluid with Hajar as he is with Yasmin, to be honest with you. Yasmin's a lovely person, and you can tell that as you speak to her. Even if you didn't see her, you could tell that as you speak to her. Hajar, yeah, nah, Hajar is meant for somebody else. So Safa and Mohammed meet, and they do like each other, and yes, definitely they cannot kiss in this Love is Blind at all. Mohammed is really taken with Safa, and she with him. He does give the ring, and it's beautiful. And I did notice that they actually put the ring on the right hand. I do have to say that all of these women, despite the attitudes of some of them, they are beautiful women, like absolutely beautiful women. So Hajar basically says that she has a connection with Shafiq. And I kind of thought his first connection really was with Dunya. So I'm not sure what happened with them two, because you hadn't seen them as much. So Hajar and Shafiq had a date. Shafiq says he wants a girl who respects herself and respects him, and he needs loyalty and communication. They did talk about how they want to raise their kids. Basically, Hajar was talking about how she wanted to send them to French, English and Spanish schools. I'm kind of thinking, I don't know how you're going to manage that if you're sending them to 3 different schools. It's literally going to be French, English and Spanish all in the one school that you find, is it not? But hey ho, we won't continue to think about the machinations of Hajar, man. Hajar doesn't appear to be serious with anything, to be fair. She appears to get on better with Shafiq than she does with Simo, but believes that Simo is her match. The date was weird, and they were weird together. That's all I can say on that one. So Hajar does say that she loves Shafiq's vibes, and she tells Noor that Shafiq is her number one. But I didn't understand that, because she said to Simo that Simo was her number one. So Dunya goes in and has a date with Shafiq, and the worst thing that this man could do is he called her Noor. Noor don't speak French. So I would have walked right back out of that room. But then he guesses her name correctly. I mean, Dunya, I believe, is the only one in there that actually speaks French fluently, along with Shafiq. So how he could not remember Dunya is beyond me. So Dunya basically asked him, like, what's your type? So he basically said that he liked tan girls. And I was like, what does that even mean? Is he likes them a little dark naturally or unnaturally? Because none of these women, I hate to break it to Shafiq, are what you call tan. They're all very light skinned. So I don't understand what he meant by that. So Dunya is so shocked by this, but she continues by saying that she is a deep person intellectually, so would go normally with personality and spirituality. So then she says that if she went for a man based on attraction, he would have to be tall and tan. I really need to know what they mean by a person being tan, because I won't lie, it sounds a bit like a colorist remark to me. They can be dark enough but not too dark is how it's coming across to me. So I really need to know what they mean by I like a person that's a little bit tan. What does that mean? So basically Dunya does tell him that within the rooms that there are a lot of girls talking about him. So he said what he feels about Dunya, that he doesn't care about other girls. And basically if Dunya and Shafiq carried on in the same vein, he was basically turning around and saying to Dunya that he didn't want her talking to any other guys. I thought, okay, is he modelling his behaviour on Amar? Because we've already had this. So Shafiq says he's not the jealous type, but he knows his matches. If you're behaving in this manner in terms of controlling the movements of a said person that you are interested in, especially by stopping them from making any further connections with any other men or speaking to any other men, even if it may be friendly, or them turning around and saying I'm not necessarily interested because of X, Y, and Z, then that means you are a jealous person. You are showing your jealous side, basically, and it ain't healthy at the end of the day. So all I thought was, okay, then if he wants to put this caveat onto Dunya, right, is he going to stop talking to other women as well? Because he's talking to quite a few women in there who have taken an interest in him. He's talking to Hajar, he's talking to Dunya, and I'm sure there's a third one in there somewhere. I'm not too sure. It might be Noor, because he did mention Noor's name. So I'm kind of like, okay, turnabout is fair play. So Dunya should be able to tell to Shafiq, okay, then if we carry on in the same vein, you need to stop talking to other women too and just make it about us too. So he's at the door, it's not open, and basically saying to Dunya as she's walking to the door that if her door is open for anyone else, it's going to be a basic turn off for him. I mean, sometimes I wonder, do you get the concept of the show? But hey ho, they must not. This is why I said that most of these men have literal delusions of grandeur when it comes to hierarchy, and the fact that they're in a tizzy because they don't hold the cards, they don't hold the control over these women. Shafiq definitely wanted to stay and have that chat with Dunya, and I'm just like, at this point, if this is how you're carrying on with this girl, because I already knew they had the connection at the beginning, he might as well just turn around and throw it all in and say, this is the person that I want, and ask her to marry him at the end of the day. I do hope he kind of picks her, but I do hope he treats her with the respect that she deserves. I do hope all of these men treat the women with the respect that they deserve. So Asma meets Khatab. Khatab is worried about his looks and how he will look to Asma, or how he will be perceived. Asma's talking about how she perceives him to look, because when she thinks, she says she hasn't really thought about his looks, but when she thinks of somebody athletic, you know, she thinks of the athletic build. And I'm like, my girl, he's not athletic. So the door's open, but that's where it ends. You don't get to see Asma's reaction to how Khatab looks, and that is where that episode ended. But I'll be back in quick succession with the next episode. As I always ask, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so when you know I'm doing videos. Please comment, like, share, and do the good things that you do, because I am on the road to 1k, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Peace out.